Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. When I sat down to write the script of this video, I definitely found myself at a loss. I wasn't quite sure how to explain this kind of momentous change in my life. Really, this video is just an attempt. I don't know how good of a job I'm going to do, but the only way to do this video is just to make a very simple documentation of how I feel. I don't think this video can be structured in any other way because what is happening to me is almost entirely internal at this point. I do believe it's going to show more outwardly over time, but it is a drastic shift that originates from within. I feel after 25 years of my life that I have been born again. And this rebirth feels just as much as a choice as it feels like it's out of my control. For me, it is identified as an artistic rebirth, and I'll go into that a little bit more later. But it's definitely a change that I initiated. The previous 25 years of my life, I think, can be described, I guess, as me still developing in a kind of womb or chrysalis. I'm going to use the word chrysalis because it's one of my favorite words. I'm going to use that one. But if not that, then that period of time, those 25 years, can be considered as almost like an entire past life of its own, whose sole function now is to impart wisdom on my current self. If you show me pictures of myself, show me anything that I've created, tell me about anything that I've done in that premature stretch of 25 years, I don't consider that to be me at all. That girl is a simple-celled organism, the crude, rudimentary building blocks of who I am now. Even if that was like a fully formed, real, physical person running around in the world. But you'll know, if you juxtapose me now with that girl, you would understand me when I say that I do not recognize her at all. When I see that girl, I see a complete and total mess. I see disharmony. I see a lot of unfavorable things in my past self. And I'm going to go into that because I know that sounds really harsh, but I've always kind of despised the process. I've always thought that the final product was worth more of my attention, at least. And I'm going to explain that because that sounds really dumb, but I'll explain it to the best of my ability. I've never felt that all the mistakes, the rudimentary forms that were created before the final product, really added any value to the end result. But this is not to say that the process or the creation of an idea that you know is significant or finally matured has no significance. When I say all that, I just mean that the formative years of something should just not be witnessed, I guess. It should be passed in the dark, just like a fetus is in the womb. Sometimes I think about burning any piece of artwork I've done up until now. I looked at these temporary fashion trends that I surrendered to and think that it was a mistake, and really that it doesn't need much attention. It doesn't really add any value to who I am now, and it was really just kind of a dead end. There's so many of those dead ends, I guess, and you need to make them, but I don't think they need to be highlighted. But if I consider myself now a fully matured version of myself, then let's say the past year or so does deserve attention. I hope that makes sense. I hope I clarified that. Process is important in its, let's say, final stretch towards the perfected form or idea, to say it simply. Just discard, though, what is useless. Because I'll tell you, I have spent wasted a lot of time focusing on those dead ends, trying to extract meaning out of them. And really, it's just meant to be left alone. And I recognize that this disharmony, or what I often call ugliness, is the frenzied disarray of growth. So if I were to be kinder to myself, I guess I would continue to use the womb or chrysalis or incubation metaphor for the past 25 years. It's probably the best way to describe it. However, one thing that I do see in that past self, that almost fetal version of me, that is worth noting is passion, a flame waiting for wind. And as far as I'm concerned, that's really the only characteristic I needed. Unbridled passion and an unquenchable desire for beauty in art. That was always there. That was the seed. And one day that seed, that passion, would grow into what I am now, going to the most extreme lengths to incorporate beauty and art into every corner of my life. And as I got nearer to my rebirth and got closer to myself, the fog lifted. The path, my destination, where I needed to go became very clear to me all at once. Now, in order for me to be released from this past life or this chrysalis, I needed to find favorable conditions, the right climate, the right ecosystem, just like with any animal, any plant, any organism. My rebirth was I guess, its final stage initiated by a drastic change in nurturing and my environment. Now, when I say this very annoying and complicated sentence that I initiated my rebirth, but I also feel that I succumbed to it, I mean that I harnessed the potential for this persona, but it wasn't catalyzed until I was in favorable conditions. I didn't know I was waiting for a proper setting, but once I reached that place, the metamorphosis came on as a purely instinctual process. The true self is an inner self, and in its dormant state, it remains vastly unconscious. So when the environment was right, it burst forth almost as if I had no control over it. And in a way, it really does sound like an actual birth. I mean, a woman knows she's pregnant. We know the time period of pregnancy, but you can't predict like the day you're going to have your child. Some people, know that. You can't predict the moment your water is going to break. You can guess very accurately, but the birth itself happens with or without your permission. I've always kind of despised this idea that we think that we can like pinpoint times and then we can figure out exactly when something is going to happen. Just let it fucking happen. Anyway, I currently live in conditions where I flourish. Up until now, I was not. Now, I feel that I do things that are natural to who I am. And I'll repeat that. Things that are natural to me, not residual behaviors from those in the past or anyone who has influenced me in the past. I really can't express how crucial that is to understand. Of course, you are a product of your environment, of your parents, friendships, events. But once you are released from an environment that you did not choose for yourself, if you are like me, when you live on your own, you start to make your way back to yourself. It seems like life is just kind of this journey, like you're taken away from where you should be. You're all the way over here, and then you have to just slowly find yourself, make your way back to this place. It is a journey within. I started to just settle into these routines and habits and preferences that did not echo the ones that I was brought up with at all. Once you were released from that environment, that place where you're very far away, for me, it was living with my parents for many years. It was being in a relationship that did not suit me. That's when you start to act on your own will and not anyone else's. It's a huge shift. It's reclusiveness. It's detaching yourself. And it's really, really fascinating to see what your behaviors turn into once you're singled out, once you're just on your own, when there's no one watching, no obligations. More than fascinating, it's really beautiful. Things that were held below the water now surface. It's wonderful to see that. It really feels like becoming reacquainted with an old friend, kind of, someone who had been patiently waiting for you. 2, when my rebirth took place, all at once, my purpose in life became so clear to me, and I had a sense of direction I've never had before. Almost a feeling of being guided. Everything that was once confusing and shrouded in doubt and mystery just surrendered and became known to me. This knowledge that was just locked away. The artistic rebirth begets a fully matured self. So I knew immediately where I was headed and what I needed to do. If I want to continue with this whole birth metaphor thing, animals know exactly what they need to do when they're given birth to. They need to eat, they need to sleep, and they need to survive. In a way, that's the same thing of what I was doing. As soon as I came into this environment, as soon as I was reborn in these favorable conditions, I knew where I needed to go and how to get there. My intuition is now a very crystal clear voice in my ear. So now that I'm here, right now, I feel the need to clarify what I mean when I call this an artistic rebirth. When I say that I have metamorphosed into my true self. It is the most abstract, the most extreme manifestation of myself, a figment defined as an artist. As I've stated on this channel numerous times, I believe in the Nietzschean artist, where the muse is the artist, not the other way around. The muse lives their art. All of us other people are simply there to just witness it or capture it if we can. And that's a beautiful thing too. I used to be merely a spectator. I used to be one of those people, a spectator to artists and muses, but I was not able to live that role myself, and I wanted to so badly. But today, I now live in favorable conditions in a suitable environment for an artist. That's a very specific place. I am so far from being a normal human being, and I could not be more proud of myself for it. Now I am free to create constantly, as well as just attribute whatever meaning to my life I want, no matter how absurd. I think often about changing my name even, to assume the names of the artists who influence me most, whose ideas have contributed to the shape of this final form. Some artists I think so fondly of, I consider them as surrogate parents. Every artist, I would say, can look at it in this way, that they have almost a second family. Those people may not contribute their DNA, but there is heredity. Everything that the artist ideates, creates, is a product of being nurtured by their creative idols. This rebirth for me is so extreme it even goes that far. I mean, hell, sometimes I even think that my physical features and my figure, my physical form, actual physical form, has changed because of this. That's extreme, that's insane, but like, sometimes I think about that. Two, I can actually feel for the first time in my life that I am within reach of grace. I'm not there, but it's kind of like grace is this massive celestial body, and I am just close enough for its gravity to pull me into its orbit. It's kind of like reaching the end of a hike, and there's a scenic view approaching, and the blue of distance is dissipating to reveal all the other colors. Now, I have talked about it in this video like this, and it may appear to you like this, that this is all a metaphor, but it's a very real thing to me. It's a very real sensation. It's a very real metamorphosis. And it took so long to get here. So much hardship and pain too, not to mention. But I am finally truly happy. I've never felt nearer to myself, never felt more in control. Even when I feel out of control, at least I know I put myself there. And I'm also so grateful that this happened early in my life. I mean, 25 years felt like a millennia, but damn, I do have so much more life to live. Such exploration lies ahead, such beauty. Each day, I'm thankful. I smile. I literally cannot believe that I'm here right now, that I have the luxury to live as I am. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. This video is very personal for me, and this kind of a thing happens a lot to people, and I feel like it's cool to talk about. It's really one of the most beautiful experiences in life, I think. The reason why, I guess, the incentive for making this video is obviously because of the rebirth itself, but Anais, who I would consider as like my surrogate mother in a way, going with the video, I was reading an article about her, and she too talked to a psychoanalyst, I can't remember his name, but also a lover of hers, of course, about wanting an artistic rebirth too. And I was like, holy shit, like, and around the same time, same like early 20s, I believe, or late 20s, you know, she had not fully dedicated to her writing up until that point, and she just, I guess the rebirth is just like taking your art and your life, your dreams, your fantasies much more seriously than you had before. It's intense. So when I read that, I was just like, wow, that's exactly how, like, I feel the same exact way. Like at a certain point in my life, I feel like it's time to move on with this new life. I would love to hear your responses below. I would love to know if you guys have had such experiences, what yours was like. I think that would be a very interesting conversation in the comments section. Please do not forget to like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.